Welcome back, and now we're out here in the greenhouse at Top Crop, and wow, it just smells like Christmas. And we're joined by General Manager Greg Fisher. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Merry Christmas, and our greenhouse has become a treehouse this time of the year.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think of the smell? You must just love it every year when you come out here.
It's great. It's part of the Christmas tradition.
Now, I see a lot of trees here. How many do you bring out on an annual basis?
In the hundreds, yeah. And we've slowly been growing that number over the last number of years, and we try to have a great selection of trees.
Now, I do know there's a wide variety here, but I wanted to ask you, what's the history behind the tree, the Christmas tree?
Personally, it's my family. We always had a Christmas tree growing up. So when you ask that question, it's just part of Christmas. But from what I understand, back in the 16th century in Europe, specifically Germany, the Baltic regions, they brought outside trees inside to help celebrate the life and that time, and then putting trinkets or candy on it I think is where the ornamentation of Christmas trees started.
Oh, you learn something new every day. Now, I'm sure many people have in the past or even this year have had problems with their tree, not being able to keep it looking as good as it could up until Christmas and the New Year. But can you give us some tips, some of the viewers some tips on how they can look after their tree this time of year?
First of all, starting with a fresh tree. And what we call a fresh tree is if it's a local tree that's been grown, making sure that it hasn't been harvested until after it had a good hard frost, so it keeps the sap in the tree. If it's a coastal grown tree or a tree grown in a warmer climate, it's about keeping it from freezing hard. As far as inside a person's house, that's the next most important thing. Because of our climate, we tend to be very dry in the wintertime. So when we have a humidity level of 30% in the house, that's going to just suck the moisture out of anything that's alive, including the Christmas trees. So by keeping the humidity high, even with the humidifier right close to the Christmas tree, keeping it away from heat sources, i.e. whether it's the wood stove or even the forced air, all those things will help make the tree last longer. Another big part of it is making sure that the tree will absorb water. So a tree can drink up to a gallon a day, and the fact that it's drinking up to a gallon a day doesn't mean the tree was dry. It just means that it's trying to replace the moisture that's being drawn out of it because of the air around it. When you buy a Christmas tree, you want to do a fresh cut. And what I mean by that is come up about an inch from the bottom and with a coarse saw, just literally just cut a new bottom on the tree. You want to put the tree in water, even if you're not going to move it inside the house, if you've got it in a garage, you want to just make sure that that tree is sitting in water. Now the key is if that tree, the water dries out, there'll be a scab or a scar or a bubble that will form underneath. So if underneath the tree, and it will not take the water in it.
And following all these guidelines, how long can people expect their trees to last?
It depends on all those conditions, but our goal is for people to get an honest 2 to 3 weeks for minimum, depending on the tree. Some people say, well, they've after they're done with it, it'll last for up to 2 months.
What's the favourite? You've got a few varieties here. What do the people here in Cranbrook like most?
The traditional Douglas fir is still our number one selling tree. The Nordmann fir, which is a little bit more resilient needle, cousin to that, is catching on with popularity and more every year as people learn about them. I understand, I was listening to the radio the other day and they were saying that the Fraser fir is becoming the number one most popular Christmas tree in North America. And so it changes over the years.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, thanks for all the information. I'm sure with all this, the people out there are going to make sure their trees will last well and truly up until Christmas, maybe a little bit longer. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks again.